Good evening. A warm welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for joining on this Sunday evening. Let's start with our prayers. Why is it not working? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare. Welcome to this session. This is part 2 from verse 17 to 29. We are on chapter 5, Karma Yoga, which is titled as Action in Krishna Consciousness. It's also known as Renunciation in Action, Karma Sannyasa Yoga. We'll quickly start with overview of what we discussed in the last class. And the first, this thing is, there are 4 lessons that Krishna gives Arjuna and all of us in this chapter. It's known as STEP. S is stay in the world, T is 3 doers, E is equal vision, P is peace. Let's look at the details. In chapter 3, which is also titled Karma Yoga, Arjuna starts asking Krishna a question. He asks, which is better, Karma Yoga or Gnana Yoga? Path of action is better or path of knowledge is better? Now we are in chapter 5, which is called Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So Krishna is recommending to Arjuna that he must follow Karma Yoga. We will know why as we go through this chapter. And Arjuna again starts this chapter by asking this question. Which is better? Renunciation of work, that is Karma Sannyasa Yoga, or renunciation in work, Karma Yoga? Look at the play of words. Renunciation of work or renunciation in work. Both are Zameen Asman ka fark hai. We must be careful that what Krishna is saying. He says renunciation in work and not renunciation of work. And why Arjuna is asking that? Because in his mind, he's not very keen to fight this battle against his own relatives, his own grandfather, his own teacher. What does S of the word step stand for? It stands for stay in the world. Lesson 1. That's what Krishna is telling Arjuna. You can stay in this world. You are a Kshatriya. You can fight this battle, and still through Karma Yoga, you can achieve mukti, moksha, liberation, freedom from bondage. So Krishna, as Arjuna asks this question, which is better? Krishna answers, Karma Yoga is better. And he says, it's not just better, it's also easier for most of you who are following the path of Swadharma, doing your own prescribed duty. And he also says clearly that Karma Yoga is better than Gnana Yoga. From 5.7 to 5.16, which we have covered in the last class, we have seen what happens if you perform Nishkama Karma Yoga, you remain free from bondage. So this is the first step that Krishna is asking Arjuna to climb. He says, you must perform Nishkama Karma Yoga, not Sakama Karma Yoga. And what is Nishkama Karma Yoga? We have all studied. Freedom, you have to perform your duty, but do not expect results. Offer your results to the Lord. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga. If you do that, you climb the first step of Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. That is, you are becoming free from bondage. From 5.7 to 5.12, Krishna tells us how to climb this step. He says, be a Yoga Yukta. What is Yoga Yukta? You connect with the Lord. How do you connect? He describes a few things. He says, never be entangled. Be like a lotus flower. It's in water, but no water is on the flower. Be controlled. You are the doer, yet the non-doer. Work only for the Lord. Good or bad. Peace. Permanent peace. And Arjuna is repeatedly saying that I want to leave the battlefield. I don't want to fight with my relatives. So Krishna says, remember, the motivation of bondage, motivation is the cause of bondage and not action. So fighting your relatives is not going to cause you bondage. Please realize that. You are a Kshatriya, you must do that. What is the motivation for the battle decides whether you're going to be under bondage or not. If your motivation is just to fight and win for greed, then it is not Nishkama Karma Yoga. But if you fight to uphold dharma, then it is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Then we look at T, lesson 2, that is three doers. Very important lesson, and all of us as Karma Yogis should take this home. Any action cannot be performed by our own self. We need three people to contribute to complete any action. And who are the three people? First is ourself, Jiva, Atma. The Atma in us desires. So it is the initiating cause. Second, Paramatma, who is within us. He is the sanctioning cause. Unless and until the Lord sanctions, nothing happens. Universe, Prakriti. We are made up of 5 Panchabhutas. Where does that come from? Universe. So we are part of the universe. So universe is the execution cause. So these are the 3 requirements for any action, good, bad. We must be aware of this. So many a times we feel we did a lot of hard work, but we did not get the result. Maybe the reason is the Lord or the Paramatma within us did not want us to have that result, and the universe did not cooperate. Third lesson, equal vision. This is the second step that Krishna talks to Arjuna. He says, you can attain liberation by performing Nishkama Karma Yoga, by focusing on Paramatma. Offer everything to me. And in this, verses from 17 to 26, it is one explanation after another to show how we can achieve equal vision. And the verse 27 to 28 is the beginning of Ashtanga Yoga. Now, the 6th chapter is Dhyana Yoga, which describes Ashtanga Yoga in detail. So this is lesson 3. And P is the peace formula. All of us, when we go back and if someone asks us, what is that lesson that you remember from Gita, you can remember this verse, 5.29, which we will cover today. A very famous verse, and this is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, which Krishna covers in 6 chapters from 7 to 12 in detail. So with this overview, let's look at the start of today's session. So we will be covering equal vision, verse 17 to 26. This is the lesson 3. What is the theme of this is a liberation by focusing on Paramatma. Don't look outside, look within. What will happen? All Karma Yogis get freedom from bondage. Very important, very interesting first verse for the day. 17. Tad buddhayas, tad atmanas, tad nishtas, tad parayanaha, gachanti apunar avrittim, gnana nirdhuta kalmasha. What's the summation of this? Focus on the Supreme leads to liberation. What's the translation? When one's intelligence, buddhayas, mind, atmanas, faith, nishtas, and refuge, tatparayana, are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. This is the purport. Let's understand by reading the translation. So Krishna tells Arjuna that our consciousness moves in 4 lanes. And he says we must fix each one of them if we have to focus on the Lord. What are the 4 faculties Krishna is referring to? He's referring to Tad Buddhayas. He says, let us fix the intelligence. So we have to fix all these 4 faculties: intelligence, mind, faith, and the goal if we have to achieve focus on the Lord. Tad Buddhayas, let us fix the intelligence. Tad Atmanas. Now, when you say let us fix the intelligence, what is Krishna meaning? Spiritual life begins with intelligence. We are all intelligent. We know that we must read, understand, listen to Gita. That's why we have assembled here on the Sunday evening. So this is the beginning. So the journey of spiritual life starts with listening to, reading Gita scriptures. First step is study scriptures. What happens after you study? You get knowledge. You are aware. Then you start contemplating. Oh, is this what I have learned? And then you understand. So this is the first step control your intelligence, fix your intelligence. Tad Atmanas, fix the mind. For spiritual study, just by having intelligence, it is not enough. You have to engage your mind. Unless we make up our mind that we must be attending this class today, it doesn't happen. So along with intelligence, you should have mind also fixed on the goal. When mind gets involved, then you are emotionally involved. Tannistas, put the faith. Faith is most important. Unless you have faith, you can't really progress or proceed well. Parayana. What is Tat Parayana? Make absolute goal, make absolute truth the goal. Until and unless we feel we must surrender to the Lord, you can't start your spiritual journey. So when you fix these four faculties, what happens? The third line says that Gachanti apunar avrittim. Gachanti means move forward. Move forward where? Now this is saying apunar avrittim. If you say punar avrittim, it means coming back to this the cycle of life and death. Apunar avrittim is you never come back again. You have achieved liberation. How is that possible? By Gnana Nirduta Kalmasha. So you must get that knowledge. And what is that knowledge? Look within. What is Nirduta? Dhuta means washed away. Nirduta means completely washed away. So Krishna is saying confidently to Arjuna that if you fix your four channels of consciousness, you will achieve Nirduta, complete wiping away of your ignorance, which will lead you to me. That's the essence learning from this. Now, does this, let us understand this through an example so we can get the concepts imprinted in our minds. Let's say we are suffering from some illness, some disease, and we go to a doctor, maybe he's an allopathic doctor, and he also tells us that what disease you have is incurable. It is very difficult to find a cure in allopathy. He says, but let me give you an advice. Why don't you go and try, let's take, for example, Ayurveda. Now you say that if allopathy doesn't have a cure, doctor, do you think Ayurveda can cure? He says, yes, why not? Go and try. Now the first channel comes into play. What does your intelligence say? I want to survive. I want to fight and win against this disease, illness. So the intelligence says, okay, let's go and try. What's the harm? So you go to an Ayurveda doctor. The action of approaching an Ayurveda doctor, you take reference, you find out who is a better good doctor, what reference he has, then your mind is fixed. So you have the intelligence, then your mind is in it, and then you go to Ayurveda doctor. And Ayurveda doctor gives you a course of medicine. Is it enough? It's not enough. Now, this is where Tannistas comes into play. Until and unless you have faith in trying that medicine, saying that, let me give it an honest try, it is not going to help you. So you have intelligence, you have mind, you have nistas, and on top of it, you say that, oh Lord, please try and give me relief from Ayurveda medicine. Then only you will have the complete benefit that is possible coming out of Ayurveda. That is what Krishna is trying to say. So what is the lessons for us as Karma Yogis is practice of spirituality is not for stress relief. It doesn't relieve stress. Actually, it is distress relief. You don't get into a stressful situation itself. That's the beauty of spirituality. Spiritual knowledge is not theoretical. It is transformational. That is what happens if you invest all your four faculties in looking at what the message of Lord is. Fix all your channels into me, then you will achieve liberation. With this, we move to the next verse. Very interesting verse again. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Sunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadharshina. Now, after fix your four channels of consciousness, what happens? You start developing equal vision. This is the most important attribute of a Yoga Yukta. Let's read the translation. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater who is an outcast. Just look at how Krishna is telling Arjuna what is the essence of equal vision. And he's giving three animals as example. And he's saying you should treat all of them as equals. All are jivas, all are atmas. It's just that they're in a different body. Let's look at the purport detailed translation. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. What is Krishna describing here? He is describing the qualities of a Brahmana. Brahmana. Why Brahmana? Because Brahmana operates in the mode of goodness and he is the most learned amongst the four Varnas. And Krishna says he is known for Vidya, humility, knowledge, and Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, gentleness. And he says such a Brahmana who is knowledgeable has equal vision towards towards the entire spectrum of creation. And he gives three examples of animals because they are operating in three different modes of nature. What are these animals? Gavi. Gavi is cow. Cow is operating in the mode of goodness. What happened? Next is Hastini. Hastini is elephant. Elephant is operating in the mode of passion. Then Suni Chaiva. Suni is a dog. So why is giving an example of dog? Because dog is in the mode of ignorance. So cow in the mode of goodness, elephant mode of passion, and dog in the mode of ignorance. And he also adds Swapake Cha. He is a dog eater. In the sense he's a Shudra. So one end of Varnashrama is Brahmana, other end of Varnashrama is Shudra. So he says Brahmana operates in the mode of goodness and Shudra or a dog eater, Sopake, operates in the mode of ignorance. All of these are the same as far as the Lord is concerned. If you are a Brahmana, if you are got Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, if you have the knowledge, then you will have equal vision to all these animals, irrespective of what they are. It is not for you to decide that you are superior, a dog is not, or let's say a dog is inferior. Lord says a person with equal vision has to see every living being as equal. Now, what is equal vision? Equal vision is not equal reciprocation. To give you a simple example, you can go and hug a cow because a cow is not aggressive. But can you go and hug a tiger, for example, or even a dog? May not be possible because they are ferocious. They will come at you. So equal vision means appropriate reciprocation. Treat them with genuine love, compassion. Don't treat them as an animal. It's just that in this life span or lifetime, they have got a body of a dog. There is nothing to choose between me or a dog, because both of us have the same Atma. There's nothing to choose between the two Atmas. It's just that we have a different body. So if you are able to develop this kind of ability, then you are considered to be a true Brahmana. And he says, then you become Pandita Samadarshina. So our objective should be, we should try and develop this equal vision. Tulsidas in Ramayana says, what is this equal vision? Another example. He says, what is the difference between friend and enemy? If we lose a friend, we get upset. If we lose an enemy, we get upset. So he says both are actually the same. But one friend we are in love with, enemy we don't like. A friend and a foe. They have different reactions which are coming from our side. But actually, if you lose both of them, you get the same feeling. So he says, if you are aware of this, then you will not have this distinction of calling a friend or a foe. Keep everyone on the same equal distance, saying that I love a friend equally as well, may not be reach out so much to a foe because we don't get along with the same wavelength. But internally, our vision towards both is the same. Now, Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example. He says, You look at a temple, I'll just mention in ISKCON temple, because in ISKCON temple you get to see people coming from various countries. In our temples you see Indians. We have North Indian, South Indian, everyone mingling with each other. In an ISKCON temple it is even more stark. You have foreigners from various countries, different cultures. They all come to the temple. And what do you see when they are in the temple? Do you see them sporting their nationality? Can you ever imagine that someone says, I'm from London, I'm from UK, I'm a German? Nothing. Everyone is a devotee, and they all are together as a family. And if they have to do Sankirtan, they mingle, dance, sing, rejoice as one family. Now that is equal vision. In that instance of example, you see that there is no boundary, no culture that separates. All are mingling as one big family. That is equal vision. And Srila Prabhupada used to say, if you see this temple atmosphere, the way people operate, this is a true United Nations of this world. Whereas we have an United Nations where you seldom get to see such close intermingling between various countries, various populations, various people. Let's move to the next verse. Ihaivatayirjita sargo esam samye sthitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmat brahmani te sthitaha. How to be practically situated in Brahmana. So now he's telling Brahman is spiritual platform. Let's read the translation. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. Jita Sargo. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. So the most hope-giving piece of message from Krishna to Arjuna and to all of us is, while living in this world, while doing our duties, we are a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, whatever, we can also achieve Brahmani te sthitaha. We can also achieve liberation. We can also seek moksha and mukti that we have been aspiring for. Let's look at the details, the detailed translation. Ihaiva. Ihaiva is iha. Iha is this world, in this world. Iva is certainly. So Krishna is saying, in this world, certainly you will achieve freedom from birth and death. Jita Sargo. You will win over the cycle of birth and death. You will achieve liberation. But what is that we need to cultivate? Yesam samya sthitam manaha. Our mind should be situated in samya, equanimity. This is the word which is relating back to Pandita Samadarshina. So this is again reinforcing the importance of equal vision. Nirdosham hi samam brahma. What is he saying? Now, Nirdosham. Nirdosham. Why is Nirdosham being mentioned here? Srila Prabhupada says, Lord is flawless, and we are his devotees, and we want to cultivate equal vision. We want to achieve liberation. So if we have no faults, if we have equal vision, if we are flawless, then we go beyond the three modes. Then we can become as good as Brahman. Samam Brahman, Brahma. Tasmat Brahmani te sthitaha. So we can also be situated in Brahman. When you read or refer to Brahman here, Brahman, Brahmani, Brahmanirvanam, Brahmani sthitaha, all this means spiritual platform. You are going back to the Lord. You are not going to come back here in any form, in any life form. So what does it take to achieve this Nirdosham hi samam Brahma? Try to come out of illusion. And what is this illusion? The illusion is hatred and love, attraction, hatred. If we are able to come out of this, then we can become eligible to become Brahmani te sthitaha, enter the spiritual platform. So most important lesson between the last verse and this verse is Pandita Samadarshina esam samye sthitam manaha. Put your mind on the platform to think of equally of every situation. Do not try to bring duality into play. Then you will become nirdosham, flawless like the Lord. Nirdosham hi samam brahma. Then you'll achieve the spiritual platform. Brahmani te sthitaha. Let's look at the next verse. Na praharshet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam, sthira buddhir asamudo, brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. Let's look at what is the one-line summary. This is symptoms of a self-realized person. If you have an equal vision, what happens? How do you react? How do you live in this world? Very important lesson for us. This is understanding. This is knowledge. Translation: a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. Let's look at the detailed translation. So from 5.20 to 5.29, they are describing the characteristics of a person who is self-realized, who is already on the Brahman platform. So this has two purposes. One is, it is prescriptive. If we are a sadhaka, it is like, we are on the journey of spirituality. So it's prescriptive for us. But if you are, let's say, a naturally gifted Siddha Purusha. Srila Prabhupada was a Siddha Purusha. Shankaracharya was a Siddha Purusha. Sai Baba was a Siddha Purusha. For them, it is prescriptive. They already know. Descriptive. They are already following what Krishna is telling Arjuna. So these 9 verses have both prescriptive elements and descriptive elements. If you're a Siddha, it is descriptive. If you're a Sadhaka, it is prescriptive. So what is the difference between Siddha and Sadhaka? Siddha is already self-realized. That's the reason why there is one Sai Baba, there is one Srila Prabhupada, there is one Shankaracharya. Whereas we are billions and billions of people like us who are sadhakas. They are few and far in between. They are already on the platform of self-realization. Let's look at the details. Na praharshet priyam prapya. When one gets some priyam prapya is one, if you get something which is close to you, dear to you, do not delight. That's why he says, na praharshet priyam prapya. Do not celebrate, do not delight. No dvijet prapya cha priyam. If you are getting something which is undesirable, which is miserable, he says, do not grieve, do not be in grief. No dvijet prapya cha priyam. So try to be balanced between both good things and not so good things. Sthira buddhir asamudho. Sthira buddhir is fix your intelligence. Tell yourself that this is also a passing phase if you are in misery. Tell yourself this is also a passing phase if you are in joy. Asamudho. Look at the use of the word. Now, Muda is a person who thinks like us normally, conventionally. This is good, this is bad. That is platform of duality. But Asamudo is a person who is above that. He's gone beyond illusion. He is qualified to be on the platform of spiritual platform or Brahman platform. If you have your intelligence fixed, and if you are not bewildered by joy or misery, then you are knower of Brahma, Brahmavid, and Brahmanistitaha. You are already there on the spiritual platform. And Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord has 3 features. In Gita, whenever you come across Brahman, so the 3 features of the Lord is you have Brahman realization, you have Paramatma realization, and you have Bhagwan realization. So if you follow different paths to reach the Lord, you get different realization of the Lord. If we are going to follow Bhakti Yoga, which is what we are going to study in the coming chapters, then you will reach the Bhagwan realization of the Lord. Now, you may be, okay, let us discuss an example. What is Krishna saying? Na praharshet priyam prapya. Let's take the most popular field, sport. Now in India, cricket is a religion. In US, I think rugby is a religion. In Europe, soccer is a religion. They are wild followers. It's a mass sport. And what happens, and we can understand the importance of what Krishna is telling Arjuna with example of sports. Generally, we put our mind and intelligence into sports. We have our likes, we choose our teams. If it's India, then we say India must win always. And but the equal vision knowledge also tells us sport is one activity where there has to be a winner and a loser. You cannot avoid it. It's not life. So in knowing fully well that it is a sport, we adopt a team, we back a team, and then we become emotionally involved. And what happens? If you win, you rejoice. If you lose, you are miserable. That exactly is what Krishna is saying. Don't do that. Enjoy the sport. You know that the best of the two teams will win. Sometimes you are at your best, sometimes your opponent is at the best. If you're able to accept this situation, then sports also becomes enjoyable. But if you don't follow this, na praharshet priyam prapya, no dvijayet prapya cha priyam, then you will continue to be in the world of duality. You will never be able to reach Brahmani Sthitaha, Brahma with Brahmani Sthitaha. So next time when we get into the situation of supporting our teams, we should try and caution ourselves. I will support, I will cheer, but I will not get affected by the end results. I am aware, I know one team has to win, one team has to lose. If our team loses, do not get into that situation of sulking, grief. No. And do not celebrate or get overjoyed if your team wins. That's a practical application of this verse. How to be practically situated in Brahman? Krishna continues. Bhaya sparshe asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukam sabrahma yoga yuktatma sukam akshayam asnute. Symptoms of a self-realized person. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. I have underlined two words. Let us see what it means. This verse has a progression. Bhaya sparshe asaktatma. Bhaya is external. Sparsha is contact. Asaktatma. One is not affected whether good things happen or bad things happen. Bhaya. So he is not going to focus on external sense pleasures to that extent. And what is this asakta? Asakta means you are interested. Asakta means you are not interested. Asakta means you are attached. Asakta means you are detached. So external sense pleasures will be there. We have sense objects. We will get, we have to come in touch with them. We have to interact with them. But that doesn't mean we get involved. We get emotionally attached. We should try and realize that sense objects and senses will come in touch with. There is going to be an interplay between the two, but keep the external sense pleasures outside to an extent possible. Start practicing. Bhaya sparshe asaktatma. Krishna is saying keep the external sense pleasures outside. Remember that they are not going to give you permanent joy, permanent happiness. What happens if you're asaktatma from the external pressures? Vindati atmani yat sukam. Vindati means delight. Atmani yat sukam. So take delight in things which are internal to you. Do not look at external self pressures. So here, keep external things out. Do not get too much attracted to them. Second progression, second step is try and seek pleasure within. And third, he says, Sabrahma Yoga Yuktatma. Concentrate on the Supreme. Turn inward and start seeking happiness. Concentrate on the Supreme. Then you will get Sukham Akshayam Asnute. You will have imperishable happiness. Sukham is joy. Now, Kshaya is limited. Akshaya is unlimited. So you will get unlimited, imperishable happiness. Asnute is celebration, joy. So Krishna is giving you two words to say that seek things, seek pleasure within and not outside. This is how we can be a self-realized person. Next verse. Krishna now tells us why you should give up sensual happiness. ये ही संस्पर्शसा भोगा दुःखयोनया एवते आदि अंतवंत कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधा. Let us look at the translation. And one line description is sense enjoyment is ultimately distressful. What did we see in the earlier verse? Spirituality does not give you stress relief. Spirituality gives you distress relief. So this is what Krishna is saying. When you go after sense enjoyment, you will have distress only. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with material senses. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Let's look at the detailed translation. Now, in the last verse, Krishna says, Bhaya sparsheshva asaktatma. Do not get attracted by external pleasures. Keep them to the interaction with external pleasures is to be minimum. Now, what happens if you don't give up external pleasures? Krishna is now saying, Yehi samsparshaja bhoga. Sparsha means contact of sense objects with senses. Now, what are our sense objects? All of us have got these 5 sense objects. You have the tongue, which eats delicious food. Can you ask the tongue not to eat delicious food? No, you cannot. Hand, it would love to touch soft things, good things. It's always craving for touch. Eyes wants to see beautiful things always. So when we are encouraging the sense objects to get in touch with the senses, then there is bhoga. So, and this bhoga is temporary. And why Krishna describes, he says, remember, any sense pleasure will end up in dukkha yonaya evate, because they are temporary. The very fact that you start eating good food, tasty food, it gets over. So now your stomach is full and you'll have to wait till your stomach is hungry again, if you have to enjoy that sense pleasure. So this is how it is temporary. Not only temporary, he gives you further reasons to understand. Say, any sense pleasure has 3 challenges. If you are to understand what Krishna is trying to explain, the essence of this verse is they are unattainable. First thing is, most of the sense pleasures that we see outside are unattainable. Why? Our eyes see so many good things outside. Let's say you see a Porsche car, a BMW, a Mercedes Benz. Do you think we can afford to buy all of them? So it's not attainable. Then why get attracted? You be happy with whatever car you have, that's fine. Second is, even if it is attainable, that sense pleasure may not be palatable. Example, you have read a lot about a restaurant which serves very tasty food. So you go with a lot of expectation to that place. You taste the food, and to your surprise, you're not finding it so tasty. So description wise, it is very tasty, but actual experience, it's unpalatable. It doesn't suit you. So many times sense pleasures give you this experience. So it's unattainable, unpalatable, and the last thing is philosophical. Is it retainable? Most of the sense pleasures are not retainable. If you buy a BMW, you're stuck with it for 10 years. You can't afford to change a BMW to a Porsche in the next 3 months. So it has a time space element to it. And our body itself has the limited capacity to enjoy. So unattainable, unpalatable, unretainable. These are the characters of any sense pleasure. Be aware of it. So if you want to indulge in them, this is what you're going to end up with. This is going to be your return gift. So sense pleasures, why Krishna is giving this caution to Arjuna is, it's like a sandwich. You have the upper loaf, you have the lower loaf, and in between you have a thin slice of pleasure. It could be jam, it could be vegetable sandwich, whatever. Now, to enjoy that thin sense of thin slice of filling, we eat the whole sandwich. That's the example of what happens if you hanker after sense pleasures. So upper loaf of a sandwich is hankering, I want it, and lower loaf is lamentation. So that's why we should be careful. Do not look at samsparshacha bhoga, dukkha yonaya evate, adi antavanta kaunteya. The sense pleasure has a beginning, has an end. A wise person, what does he do? Nateshu ramate buddha. The wise person does not delight in such a pleasure. So this is the essence of this verse. Let's move to the next verse. Saknoti haiva yashodham praksharira vimokshanat काम क्रोधोद्भवम वेगम sayukta sanuki suki naraha. What's the one line summary? Tolerate agitations till the end of life. A very, very philosophical verse. And many a times we have this question in our minds, and Krishna is now answering that. Let's look at the translation. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. What is Krishna saying? Saknoti Arjuna, if possible, Yashodhum. Shodhum means tolerate. Try and tolerate. Tolerate what? Kama krodho bhavam vegam. Because kama and krodha are urges which are within us. And the only way you can manage that is show them, tolerate them. Until when you have to tolerate them, he says, Prak Sharira Vimokshanat, till you are having this body, till death, you cannot afford to let your guard down. Now, why I said this verse is a verse which gives answers to many questions, wow, I have been practicing spirituality for the last 10 years, but I don't see any change in me. Neither my karma has gone down, nor my krodha has gone down. A very standard question, but one has to go deep to understand it is not easy to get rid of karma and krodha. All that you can do with spirituality is when you start practicing spirituality, you will get the maturity to try and see that, yes, now I'm going on the side of what is not to be done. I will try to regulate myself. I will try to control myself. That is what spirituality gives us. It's not a magic wand. No spiritual practice can promise that I will take out kama and krodha from your consciousness. It's not possible. We are born with it. But if you are able to control them, if you are able to regulate them, then Krishna says, Sayukta Sasuki Naraha. Such a person has infinite happiness. So controlling your karma and krodha will give you the infinite pleasure. So what's the mantra? Tolerance. What is tolerance? You should not tolerate or tolerance is the wall between temptation on one side and transgression on the other side. What is temptation? I want to do this. What is transgression? I will do it. So if you have this sense of balance, of tolerance, then you will say that I will try to resist my temptations. I will do it only to the minimum extent that is required. Now, how do you tolerate? So Krishna says, you have to tolerate this by cultivating knowledge. First and foremost, be aware that karma and krodha will not go away. They are inherent, inborn part. They're part of our DNA. It just doesn't. You cannot take it out from yourself. But if you start reading scriptures, you start understanding the wisdom of our scriptures, then you'll start understanding that, okay, I know there are temptations. I will try and control. I will try and regulate my propensity to enjoy. It's like Srila Prabhupada gives a nice example. He says, you look at a tiger in a circus. Tiger is a ferocious animal. How do you train a tiger? By controlling its food intake. Every animal gets hungry, even tiger gets hungry. But the trainer knows that I have to feed the tiger only when the tiger listens to me. That's the way we have to manage. Now, in the initial stages, when the tiger is not trained, it thinks that I can get away by roaring at my top and this trainer will give me food. And then the tiger keeps on roaring. After some time, it gets tired and it keeps on quiet. And slowly there is a realization that by roaring, I will not get my food. But by listening to the trainer, I will get my food. Similarly, what we should do is temptations will not go away. Temptations will be there. Kama and Krodha will not go away. They will always be there. We have to, just like the trainer does, he feeds when the tiger listens to us. So we will indulge only to the extent that is required for us. So, like that in life, through this learning of scriptures, we should become a devotee and learn to tolerate. A devotee becomes determined to tolerate. That's the learning for us as a karma yogi. Let's look at the next verse. Yo antasukho antar aramas tata antar jyotir evaya sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto adhigacchati. Delighting in words, brahma bhuta stage. So we are, our objective should be to move towards the spiritual platform. Let's look at the translation. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. This verse is similar to verse in the third chapter, Karma Yoga, 3.17. There we had studied Atmaratir eva syat, Atmatruptascha manava, Atmani eva cha santustas, tasya karyam na vidyate. So in that verse, Atma had come 3 times. Atmaratir, when person is turned inwards. Atmatrupta, when he is satisfied inwards. Atmani santusta, when he is illuminated inwards. Similarly, then if you are doing all these things, what Krishna says, tasya karyam na vidyate. Such a person has no duty. In 5.24, Krishna says, here, anta comes 3 times. Anta sukho, one who feels happiness inwards. Antar aramas, actively enjoying within. Antar jyoti, tathantar jyotir, aiming within. Sayogi brahma nirvanam. Such a person attains spiritual happiness. So one who is feeling happiness inwards, one who is actively enjoying within, one who is aiming within, one who is focusing inwards rather than external, such a person is qualified to become Sayogi Brahma Nirvanam. Now, Brahma Nirvanam, Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice explanation. Nirvana comes from, it's used a lot by the Buddhists. Nirvana means cessation, termination, end of material existence. But Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice meaning. He says, Brahma Nirvana, what Krishna is referring to, is not cessation of existence. It is revival of spiritual existence. If you are able to come out of all these anarthas, kama, krodha, desire, then you will come onto the Brahman platform. Then you will become Brahma Nirvana. What is Brahma Nirvana? Brahma Nirvana is, if you are a materialistic person, you think life ends with death. That is Brahma Nirvana for you. If you are a Gnani yogi, for you, life begins with death because you are so well read. You know, death is not the end, death is the beginning. If you are a Bhakta, devotee, then you say life begins whenever we start seeing Krishna. So Brahma Nirvana can mean different things to different people. But what Srila Prabhupada in the translation says, understand that this is the beginning of spiritual existence. Try and focus our energies away from matter towards spiritual. How you do it? Try and look at the spiritual knowledge. Try and memorize the spiritual lessons. Make that your spiritual treasury. If you have read 5.29 is the peace formula, store that in your memory. Whenever anyone asks you about Gita, you must be able to recollect that. So what you're doing, you're consciously cultivating the habit of storing spiritual wisdom. If you have the habit of writing down in diaries, make notes. Now, to give you a personal example, after so many years, I decided, let me do something about it. So I have started writing a blog, which says The title of that, I am willing to share my spiritual experiences while living in this world. I have one or two examples. I share it with my friends, colleagues, and that is how we should start cultivating the spiritual habit. Until and unless you recollect, you memorize, you talk about it, and you reinforce, you can't keep. We go back to our old habit. So if we have to change, we should try and keep remembering the spiritual lessons that we have learned. Then we will slowly move towards spiritual path, spiritual platform. Next part. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam, Rishi Akshina Kalmasha, Chinna Dvaida Yatatmanaha, Sarvabhuta Hiterataha. Now he's saying we are all sadhakas. So Krishna is saying how you can attain liberation. What you should do. What is the sadhana? Those who are beyond the dualities, Chinna Dvaida, that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free. One second. Who are free from all sense, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Let's look at the explanation. The crux of this is redirect our focus from external sense pleasures to internal, that is from matter to spirit. That's what Krishna is trying to say here. Labhante. Labhante means one attains. Brahma Nirvanam. We have just understood the description of Brahma Nirvanam, spiritual platform. So one can attain this platform. Rishya Kshina Kalmasha. Rishya is one who turns inwards. He's a Rishi. He's a Muni. They are already internally focused. So we should try and be a Rishi in our Karma Yoga practice. Kshina Kalmasha. Kalmasha is contamination of the heart. So we are trying to remove the impurities from us. Then only we will be able to attain Brahma Nirvanam. In 5.17, Krishna says, Gnana Nirduta Kalmasha. Now he's saying, Rashaya Kshina Kalmasha. So cleanse your heart by that knowledge. Then you will become free from all the ignorance that is asking us to work for material pleasures than spiritual pleasures. Chinna Dvaida Yatatmanaha. Gain freedom from dualities. We have taken the example of sport. We know that we should not rejoice when we get good things. We should not grieve when there is a misery in our life. So, yatatmanaha, if you are controlled, renounced, regulated, focused on the soul, yatatmanaha, focused inwards, then you are sarvabhuta hiterataha. You can work for the welfare of the entire world. And Sarvabhuta Hiterataha is not only appearing here, it also appears in the 12th chapter. So unless one is freed from impurities, unless we take away our ignorance, Rashaya Kshina Kalmasha, we can't engage in the welfare of everyone. So the journey of spirituality begins by cleansing ourselves, by removing our ignorance. Next verse. Kama Krodha Vimuktanam Yatinam Yatachesasam Abhito Brahma Nirvanam Vartate Viditatmanam. One can attain liberation soon by. This is again a hope-giving verse for us. Translation. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the near future. So it's not that we have to wait forever. It can happen in our lifetimes. We saw this in the earlier verse as well. Now, you just see the focus that Krishna has on Kama and Krodha, lust and desire. These are anger. They are so inherent in us. He keeps repeating this throughout Gita. He says, Kama Krodha Vimuktanam. One who is freed from Kama and Krodha, only then he is liberated. In 3.36, Arjuna asks this question to Krishna. Why is that we are propelled, impelled, forced, compelled to do wrong things? Krishna says, Kama Isha, Krodha Isha. These are your inner enemies and they are within you. It's not that Kama is sitting outside, that you can take it away. It is within you, and that's why you're finding it so difficult. In Bhagavatam, it says, Gnanis cross the ocean of lust easily, but they find it difficult to pass the puddle of Krodha. Krodha is actually a small brother of Kama. If you are able to overcome lust, you've done a wonderful thing. But Krodha is even more difficult to get rid of. That's why Krishna says Kama Krodha Vimuktanam. Now, why is it difficult? Because in our general conventional style, what we do, we try to control Kama and Krodha without trying to seek spiritual remedy, spiritual wisdom, how to do it. So when we try to control it at the material level, what happens? We always have this fight. I want to do it. I don't want to do it. I want to do it. I don't want to do it. So there is always this fight between wanting and not wanting. This is a clash. So I will do it, I will not do it. What happens is you will get into a mode where the mind and intelligence start saying, they become hard and harsh. Let me do it once, it doesn't matter. So if you want to avoid this is a trap for any karma yogi. So Krishna says, focus on me. Yatinam yatachetasam, purify yourself. How do you purify yourself? He's also telling you that once you make Krishna your focus, then what happens? You will say, I want to love Krishna. I want to serve Krishna. I want to please Krishna. So you made Krishna your center. The focus of I want to do it, I don't want to do it, is now no longer true. I want to do it because of Krishna. If you're able to move your focus from I to Krishna, that is spirituality. That is how you try and move towards Yatinam Yatatetasam. So if you do this, then what happens? You will be able to Abhito Brahma Nirvana. Let's take a nice story to understand how difficult it is to get rid of Kama and Krodha. This story is about Vishwamitra. Most of us have heard of him. Great sage, and he was indulged. He was, let's say, practicing a very severe penance, austerity, and he was so focused that Indra got jittery. He says, if I allow this man to complete his penance, then he's going to become my competitor. So what he did, he sends Menaka. So Menaka comes, she disturbs the penance of Vishwamitra. He looks at her, he falls in love with her, he unites with her, they have a baby. And the whole story is Vishwamitra, such a renowned sage, had to fall victim to Kama, and his entire effort of penance was, it became zero. He had to start from ground zero, level one, and he did that again. He again indulges in severe penance. You must appreciate, that's why he's Vishwamitra. He was able to do it again. And this time Indra sends Ramba. But Vishwamitra is very clear that I will not get tempted by lust. He's able to overcome lust. But the very thought that Indra had sent Ramba makes him angry. So he becomes prey of Krodha. And he curses Ramba, saying that, you are trying to disturb my penance, my austerity, so I am going to curse you. So what's the net result? In the first case, he became a prey of Kama. In the second case, he became prey of Krodha. So that's the difficulty of getting away, getting rid of Kama and Krodha. If you are able to do this, if you are able to practice this, Abhito Brahma Nirvana, Abhito means you will achieve this soon. Assuredly, Krishna is saying, you will definitely come to me, Abhito Brahma Nirvanam, Vartate Viditatmanam. So while you regulate, while you control, always be focused on your Atma. This is how you can come to the spiritual platform of Brahman. In Padma Puran, it is said, very, very eye-opening wisdom. By vision, by meditation, and by touch, the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offspring. Whereas in a human form, we have to look after the babies by personal care. Whereas these animals, we think they are animals, they are able to do this. The fish brings up its offspring simply by looking at them. A fish doesn't cuddle its baby. The tortoise is even more amazing. It brings up its offspring simply by meditation. How does it do it? The eggs of the tortoise are laid on the land because you can't have a nest in water. And the tortoise meditates on the eggs, prays to the Lord, saying that, please hatch my eggs and let the babies come out. And it happens since time immemorial. So this is the beauty, essence of how you can control Kama and Krodha. If the animals can do it, why not we? How we should do it is we should think constantly of Krishna, engage ourselves in a spiritual knowledge acquisition efforts. That's how we can achieve this Brahma Nirvanam stage. 5.27. We will take 5.27 and 5.28 together. Sparshan krutva bahir bhayyams chakshus chaivantare bruho pranapanau samau krutva nasa abhyantara charinau yate indriya manobhuttir munir moksha parayanaha vigatecha bhayakrodho yasada mukta evasa. What is Krishna saying here? These two verses are explanation of Ashtanga Yoga. So if you look at Krishna, Krishna is giving you an option. Either you do Karma Yoga, or if you have it within you to do Ashtanga Yoga, you can practice Ashtanga Yoga too. Now let's see what Ashtanga Yoga entails. If we are not able to do Karma Yoga, do you think we can do Ashtanga Yoga? Let's read the translation. Krishna says, shutting out all external sense objects, krutva bahir, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, okay, in this point. Suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostril. So you are regulating your breath. And thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. So here, the 5.27 is talking about external control in Ashtanga Yoga, and 5.28 is talking about internal control. What is Ashtanga Yoga? It's an 8-step process. It has yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So if we are finding it difficult to control, focus inwards as a karma yogi, imagine if you are able to follow the 8 steps, Krishna says, then you can achieve Brahman platform. You can achieve liberation. Let's look at the detailed explanation. Krutva means keeping, bahir, outside, external, bhayyams, unnecessary. Keep unnecessary sense pleasures outside. Do not bring them into sparshan. Don't get into contact with them repeatedly. Sparshan is touches. Touch, it stands for the interaction of sense object and the senses. What are the 5 sense objects we have? Sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. So sparshan is contact of senses and sense objects, this interaction. So try and keep the external sense objects external. Don't focus on them. Tongue loves good food. What you do? You eat prasad. Offer it to the Lord and you consume it. That's how you're able to keep external sense object within control. You are offering it to the Lord and then consuming it. Chakshus chaivantare bhruvo. Antare bhruvo means fix the eyes in the middle of the 2 eyebrows here, this point. And concentrate on the tip of the nose. He says with half closed eyes. Why? 1 second, my battery is going low. Why the eyes? Fix the eyes in the middle of the eyebrows and concentrate on the tip of the nose. Half closed eyes. You should not close your eyes fully because he says you will go to sleep. So don't close your eyes fully. Keep them half closed and keep focusing on the tip of the nose so that the eyes, when they're half closed, they do not wander. What is the benefit? If they don't wander, you are able to control your mind, stabilize your mind. If the mind is restless, the eyes will wander. If the eyes are half closed, you are trying to regulate the mind through the eyes. This is Ashtanga Yoga. Keep the eyes steady, you can stabilize your mind. Prana apanau samau krutva. Regulate the inward and the outward breath. Nasa abhyantara charinau. Within the nostrils. It is a practice. You can't achieve pranayama in a day or 2. You really have to practice that. By breath control, we can calm the restless mind. So this is another way, another method of trying to control your senses. This is the external thing. So 5.28, Krishna talks about what we should do internally. Yatendriya manobuddhir. Control your mind, sense, and intelligence. Munir moksha parayana. There we saw Rishaya Krishna Kalmasha, Sheena Kalmasha. Here it is Munir moksha parayana. The person should be, Munir is one who is focused inwards. Muni, Rushi, they're all self-realized souls. Moksha parayana. If you are focused on moksha, if you are not too attracted to external sense pleasures, if you are focused only on moksha, then vigatecha bhayakrodho, you will be able to control your bhaya, icha, and krodha. Yasada mukha, yasada mukta evasa. If you are able to do this, then you come to the stage of liberation. By practice of such yoga, you will gain control over the senses, refrain from external sense pleasures, and thus prepare for liberation. So this is another way, another path to achieve liberation. The last verse of this chapter, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhrudam Sarvabhutanam Gnatvam Shantim Rachati. One of the most important verses. And one is to read this verse, and then is to understand the deep internal meaning that Krishna is saying. Translation. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Shantim Rachati, attains peace. This is the peace formula that Srila Prabhupada called. This is the conclusion of this chapter. Let's look at the details. In 5.17, Krishna said, Prakashati Tatparam. And that time he had said, he has not told us what is the Tatparam. This is now being described in 5.29. What is this peace formula? How do you achieve Shantim Rachati? There are three components to this. Enjoyer, Bhoktaram. Proprietor, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Surudam Sarvabhutanam, benefactor. So Krishna plays the role of enjoyer, proprietor, benefactor. He is the supreme, and he is now giving a direct message to all of us. Who is Krishna? That's why it becomes so important. And if we apply this in our lives, this world is going to be a far better place. We all can be peaceful. We don't have to have this Russia-Ukraine phenomena that we are today seeing. How much of human suffering, destruction, all that can be avoided if only we had read and understood this verse. Bhoktaram Yajna. What is Bhoktaram Yajna? Is he is the goal of all Yajna. Remember in third chapter, we had read about different types of yajna. So Krishna is saying, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices. And who does this offer sacrifices? The both karma kandis and the karma yogis. If you remember the yoga ladder. So he says, whatever sacrifice you do, I am the ultimate enjoyer. Please know that. Please understand that, O Arjuna. Tapasa. So Bhoktaram Yajna is for all the karma yogis and the karma kandis. Tapasam. Who perform tapasam? Tapasam is performance of austerities. Who does austerities? Gnana yogis. They are performed by Gnanis. They want to detach them from this world. They want to focus internally. So they are tapasam. He is the goal and the object of Gnana yogis too. So Bhoktaram, he is the enjoyer of all the sacrifices of karma yogis, karma kandis. Bhoktaram, Yajna Tapasam, all austerities, all Gnana yogis, he is the goal and object of Gnana yogis too. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, he is the controller of all people. Now, what is the inner essence of this is that he says, let us say, for whatever reason, you are a demigod worshipper. We have 33 crore Devi Devatas in this world. You have Ganesha, Lord Subramanya, Durga Mata, Vaishnu Mata, you name them. You can pray to them, but if you think by praying to them, you're going to achieve moksha, Krishna is saying, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So even if you pray to demigod, they will bring you to me. You had remember, if you remember the yoga ladder, I had said he is the supreme, and all these Devi Devatas are officers on supreme special duty, trying to look after this world of all living entities. So Krishna is saying, Sarvalokam Maheshwaram, realize that even if you pray to the Devatas, if you want to go to the Devaloka, that Devaloka also is within me, is part of me. And I will quote this verse. We will see this when we come to ninth chapter. In 9.25, Krishna says, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan Pitrnyanti Pitrvrataha Bhutani Yanta Bhutecha Yanti Madhyajino Apimam. Those who worship demigods take birth among the demigods. And remember, demigod, Devaloka, is not permanent. Devaloka is, you go there, it's far better than Bhuloka, but you still have to come back to this world. If you pray to Pitrus are our ancestors. He says, you will be born amongst the ancestors. You can go to Pitraloka. If you worship the ghosts, you will be born amongst the ghosts. And if you worship me, you will be Yanti Madhyajanopi. You will come to me. So worshipping demigods is an indirect way of achieving Krishna. So he says they are secondary proprietor. I am the primary proprietor. The third level, Suhrudam, benevolent, well-wisher. He is present within us. And he says, I am present within you as Paramatma. And who is focusing on the Paramatma? What did we study in the last two verses? If you focus on the internal, if you focus on me, you will realize Paramatma, that he is within us. So the goal of Ashtanga yogis is Suhrudam Sarvabhutanam, because they are turning inwards and they want to meditate on the absolute truth. Sarvabhutanam. He says, I am the goal of all living entities. And the most important word meaning of this verse is Gnatvamam. Only if you know this, only if you understand this, then you can achieve Shantim Rachati. It is not possible if you don't understand the inner meaning of this verse. In 4.11, Krishna says, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajami aham mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasa. As you surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pruta. Very, very conclusive. You don't have to have any doubts. So Krishna now further reinforcing, clarifying, saying, I am the goal of all living beings. Now, you may be wondering, what is the connection with peace? Why is this verse known as the peace formula? Let's look at this. What's happening between Russia and Ukraine? Why they are not at peace? What has caused them to fight such a ghastly war? Because they don't have a peace agreement. They have people who want to exploit each other. The strong wants to take advantage of the weak. So at a material level, peace is always elusive. It can be broken at the drop of a hat. You just need a reason. Russia wanted a reason to show Ukraine that we are powerful. We want to teach you a lesson. So when we seek peace externally, it is elusive. It is unstable. Why? Because people are themselves not peaceful. You can't expect peace from a person who is not at peace. That's the essence of this verse. If you want peace, first you have to change the hearts of people. Bring peace within. If you are internally peaceful, then you can radiate peace externally. Till you are dependent on external happiness, you will always have this instability, war, people fighting with each other. Why? Because the externals keep changing. It is never going to be stable. So peace of this world is superficial, and to get lasting peace, the essence, the journey starts within. Try and look within and get connected with the source of happiness, that is Krishna. That is how you can achieve permanent happiness. With this, we have come to the end of this chapter. A quick summary of where we are, what we have learned so far. This chapter is also known as step. Stay in the world. Krishna Arjuna starts with the question, which is better? Krishna says Karma Yoga is better because it's easier than Jnana Yoga. 5.7 to 5.16, he says, perform Nishkama Karma Yoga, then you will become free from bondage. This is step one. If you perform Nishkama Karma Yoga, then you are getting the tools to become detached. 5.7 to 5.12, he tells what is the characteristics of a detached person, a yoga yukta. He says he's never entangled, self-controlled. He's the doer yet non-doer. He works for the Lord with detachment. He seeks purification. Then he attains peace. And motivation is a cause of bondage, not action. The lesson 2 is 3 doers. Any action, we should take this and write this down in a diary. No action is because of us. It's always because of we play 1/3 role. We are the initiating cause. Lord, who is present as Paramatma, is the sanctioning cause, and Prakriti, the universe, is the execution cause. 5.16 says knowledge is Tatparam. Knowledge is Tatparam is the Lord. Who is Tatparam? We just saw in 5.29. Equal vision. This is what we have studied today. You can attain liberation by focusing on Paramatma. So this is step 2. Why this chapter is known as step 1. You perform Nishkama Karma Yoga, perform your prescribed duty, then you start understanding how to be detached. And if you focus all your energies on Paramatma within, then you can attain liberation. How to be on the Brahman platform, we have seen in detail 5.20 to 5.26. I'll not repeat this. It's a summary. Peace formula, verse 29. Lord, we should realize this. He is the supreme. And when he is the supreme, he is the proprietor, he is the enjoyer, he is the benefactor. Whatever path you follow, Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, let us Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, all paths lead to the Lord. Realize that. And one can achieve peace only if you connect with the source of peace, and that is Lord. This is Bhakti Yoga. 5.29 gets described in detail between chapters 7 to 12, which is known as the Bhakti Yoga session of Gita. Thank you very much. If this plays, let's see. No, it's not playing. It was a nice 1-minute clip. Anyway, now the floor is open. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thanks for giving this nice, perspective on that. I'm having one question. In the step, which is the T, in the summary of this chapter also. So here you mention Jiva as a performer and Prakriti as an executor. So what I should learn, it's Jiva as an initiator or performer?
Have I mentioned this as performer here?
In the summary, performer of action is Atma.
See, it should be since there is lack of space, it sounds like that or reads like that. So what is how we should read this and understand this is performer of any action by any jiva. Krishna says there are 3 steps, 3 doers. That's how we should understand this. So as human beings, as Atma, we are the initiating cause. I desire, I want to eat, I am hungry. So that becomes the desire. Paramatma says, yes, I am sanctioning your next food. That's the second doer. And Prakriti provides us with the food. He is the execution cause. And same thing happens for a dog, fish, whale, shark. This doesn't change. This is eternal truth.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. It takes a little, what you can say, reflection to understand this. We had read about examples or discussed examples of a woodcutter and a tree. So that gives you a further clarity. So can a woodcutter cut the tree by himself? No. He's the initiating cause. Then he has to use an axe. That becomes your the clause. He initiates, and the axe helps him. That's the universe. It helps him execute, and then he's able to cut the tree. So if you look at every action, you can say that, okay, how is this happening? What is the role we are playing? Any other question? Alok? Nandita?
No, boss, I think it's very well explained.
No questions?
No.
So next time, whenever we come across a situation where we say that we have performed to our best of our ability, but we did not get the desired results, then we should remember this this learning. 3 doers. So maybe the Lord did not sanction, maybe the universe did not execute it fully well. That's why we did not get what we desired to get. If there are no questions, thank you very much. We'll close the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you.